Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today, and I need you to hear me. I mean, really hear me. When a man hurts you, when he lies, cheats, plays with your emotions, or walks away like you meant nothing, I want you to remember one thing. Don't break, shine. Let me tell you something right now. When a man hurts you, when he plays with your love like it's a game, when he takes advantage of your loyalty, your heart, your trust, I know it feels like the ground gets pulled out from under you. That pain ain't light. It's the kind that lingers, makes you question everything, makes you question you. You start wondering what you did wrong, what you could have done different, what you missed, what you let slide that maybe you shouldn't have. And I'm not here to tell you not to feel it. Now you go ahead and cry if you need to. Go ahead and let that heart feel what it feels, because ignoring the pain don't make it go away. But I'm here to tell you what to do with that pain. That's the part nobody teaches you. See, he expects you to fall apart. That's what he's counting on. He expects you to be up at night, scrolling through old messages, wondering why he changed. He expects you to send that long text, begging for closure, asking for answers he don't even deserve to give. He expects you to show up in your brokenness, because in his mind, your power came from being with him. So now here's how you confuse him. You don't react the way he expected. You don't go running back. You don't cuss him out. And you don't shrink yourself just because he couldn't handle your worth. Now you glow up. Now I ain't talking just about lashes, makeup, or a new hairstyle, though if that's your thing, go ahead and show out. But this glow up I'm talking about, it's deeper than skin. It's that internal upgrade. It's when you step into your confidence like you finally remembered who the hell you are. It's when you stop waiting on someone else to validate what God already put inside you. It's when you wake up one day and say, you know what? I'm not gonna let this pain define me. I'm gonna let it refine me. You glow up by getting your mind right. Read the books. Listen to things that feed your spirit. You glow up by taking care of your body, not to impress anybody, but because you deserve to feel strong and whole. You glow up by surrounding yourself with people who speak life into you, not folks who make you question your value. You glow up by stepping into rooms like you belong in them, even if your heart's still bruised. You smile, you speak with purpose, you walk with your head high, not because life didn't hurt you, but because you decided the hurt wouldn't win. See, when a man thinks he broke you and he sees you thriving, now he's confused. Now he's wondering, wait, how'd she get even better without me? Oh yeah, now he's stunned, because in his mind he thought your light came from him, but your glow was never about him. That shine was always yours. You just forgot for a second. You glow up by not seeking revenge. You don't waste time trying to hurt him back. You don't try to post little messages hoping he sees them. That ain't growth. That's still being tied to the pain. You let your success, your joy, your peace be the loudest response you ever give. Because let me tell you what really messes a man up. It's not your silence. It's your success. It's your healing. It's when he knows he hurt you, but you didn't let that make you bitter. You used it to build. That's strength. That's power. And that's what makes him sit up at night wondering, how did she bounce back like that? You ever see a flower grow through concrete? That's what this glow up is. You didn't have the softest soil. You didn't get nurtured the way you deserved, but you bloomed anyway. And now your beauty got weight to it. It's not just pretty, it's powerful. Don't glow up to prove anything to him. Glow up because you finally remembered the version of you that didn't settle. Glow up because you deserve to meet the woman you're becoming on the other side of this pain. Sometimes God will let someone hurt you just enough to shake you awake, to remind you of the calling on your life, to strip away the people who couldn't go where you're headed. That pain, it wasn't your ending, it was the beginning of your rise. And here's the part that makes this glow up unstoppable. It's not fueled by ego, it's fueled by peace. That calm that comes when you stop chasing folks who fumbled you and start chasing the life you were born to live. So when he looks back, and believe me, he will look back and sees that woman who didn't fold, that woman who healed, who evolved, who smiled without bitterness, who walked like she knew her worth and didn't need his permission to do so. That's when it hits him. He didn't just lose you, he lost access to the version of you that only existed because you loved him. And the most confusing part for him, you never even look back. Let me tell you something most folks don't understand. There's real power in how you lead. Not just that you walk away, but how you do it. Because when a man does you wrong, when he lies, when he cheats, when he takes your love and tosses it aside like it was nothing, The world tells you to clap back, to get loud, to burn bridges and torch everything on your way out. And I get that. That kind of betrayal lights a fire in your chest that makes you want to set the whole situation ablaze. But let me tell you what's really powerful. Let me tell you what really leaves him confused, speechless, and shook to his core. It's when you walk away with grace. Now, I ain't talking about grace that comes from weakness. I ain't saying let him off the hook. I'm talking about a kind of strength most people can't even comprehend. See, grace ain't soft. Grace is restraint. It's dignity. It's knowing what you're capable of, knowing what you could say, what you could expose, and choosing peace instead. Not because he deserves it, but because you do. When you walk away with grace, you're saying, I know what I bring to the table. And I'm not about to argue with somebody who can't even sit with it right. You're not yelling. You're not begging. You're not explaining your worth. You're not trying to repackage your love in smaller doses just so he can digest. You're just done, and you're still wishing him well on your way out. Now that kind of exit, that confuses a man. Because let me tell you what he expected. He expected chaos. He expected tears. He expected you to fall apart so he could play hero, swoop in with half an apology, and keep that door cracked open. He expected a messy ending, because that's what he knows how to handle. What he didn't expect was your silence, your smile, your peace. Grace is when you choose not to become like the person who hurt you. It's when you say, I'm not gonna let this situation pull me down to that level. Because what happens when you don't match the dysfunction, when you don't give that drama any more oxygen? It died. That energy can't feed off you anymore. And the man who thought he had a grip on your emotions, he's now left standing in a cloud of his own confusion, wondering why he don't have the same power he used to. See, here's what happens when you leave with grace. You give back the pain and you take back your power. You walk out without throwing shade, and you walk into the next chapter of your life, clean, no baggage, no bitterness, just you holding your head high, knowing you handled it like a woman who knows her value. You didn't chase, and that scares him. You didn't curse his name, and that humbles him. You didn't post your pain online, and that makes him wonder just how strong you really are. Because grace is a mirror, it reflects the truth back to them. And when he sees how you moved, calm and unbothered, he starts looking at his own reflection and realizing he lost someone he couldn't shake. Now let's be real, walking away with grace ain't easy. It's not natural when you've been lied to, when you've been made to feel like your love was disposable. It takes everything in you not to lash out. It takes maturity. It takes healing. It takes discipline to say, I'm not going to trade my peace for temporary revenge. Because revenge might feel good in the moment, but grace feeds your soul. Grace leaves your hands clean and your spirit whole. And let me tell you something else, it also protects your future. Because one day when the dust settles, when he tries to come back around like they always do, he'll remember not just what he did, but how you responded. And your response is what sets you apart. Walking away with grace means you don't explain yourself to people who never took the time to understand you in the first place. You don't perform your pain. You don't beg for clarity from someone who created confusion. You just leave, quietly, powerfully, and with a softness that echoes louder than any argument ever could. Because at the end of the day, grace is freedom. It's the final say without saying a word. And when you give yourself that, when you walk away with your integrity intact, with your energy unfazed, now you win. Not just a situation, you as a woman, as a soul, as a force. So don't be afraid to walk away with elegance. Don't let the pain make you bitter. Let it make you better. Let it be the thing that elevates you to a higher version of yourself. One that no longer tolerates confusion, disguised as love, because that's not love, that's control, and you don't owe anyone a front row seat to your downfall. What you owe yourself is peace, joy, clarity, and that only comes when you exit with intention, not impulse. So when he looks back, and he will, don't let him find a version of you that's still stuck in what he did. Let him find a version of you that's flourishing, a version that never lost her class, never lost her self-respect, and never needed to throw dirt to stand tall. Let him realize he let go of someone who knew how to handle pain with grace. And that's the kind of woman he won't be able to replace. Because nothing leaves a mark on a man's mind more than a woman who walked away, quietly, gracefully, and for good. Let me tell you what really throws a man off after he's hurt you. It's when he looks back and realizes, you didn't just move on, you moved up. See, when somebody plays with your heart, when they treat your love like it's replaceable, they usually don't think long term. In that moment, they think they got it all figured out. They think they'll always have access to you, that no matter how far you drift, they'll still be able to find you right where they left you, waiting, stuck in pieces. But what they don't see coming is the version of you that gets birthed in the fire. You confuse him when you stop playing small. You confuse him when you take everything you went through, every disappointment, every unanswered question, and you turn it into fuel. You confuse him when you go out and become the woman he never imagined you'd become. Not because he built you, but because he broke you and you rebuilt yourself better. And I'm talking about a full transformation here. I ain't talking about just glowing up on Instagram. That's surfing. That's easy. Anybody can fake a moment online. No, I'm talking about leveling up in real life, where your peace is expensive, your standards are elevated, and your presence demands a new level of respect. See, you reach a point where the things you used to cry over you now pray for. Not because you want them back, but because you hope they heal too, just like you did. And that kind of maturity, that kind of growth, that's confusing to a man who expected you to get stuck in bitterness. He thought you'd get lost in revenge. He didn't know you were going to rise out of the wreckage and become untouchable. Because let me tell you something, healing changes your taste. It changes how you see yourself. You don't chase after closure anymore. You become the closure. You don't waste your time trying to make sense of nonsense. You realize that sometimes the lesson was the blessing. And that clarity, that's the first sign of your level up. You start taking care of yourself different. You protect your energy. You stop entertaining people who only want to borrow your shine but can't handle your storm. You get serious about your purpose. You make decisions that align with where you're going, not where you've been. And baby, once you do that, now you're operating on a whole new frequency. One he can't even pick up anymore. He used to be able to predict your moves. He knew what to say, how to pull you back in, how to hit those soft spots and keep you doubting your worth. But now, that woman don't live there anymore. The woman he manipulated, the woman he mistreated, the woman he didn't take seriously, she evolved. She graduated. She left the class, took the test, passed it with flying colors, and now she's in a whole new room with a whole new view. And that view, it don't even include him. Leveling up ain't about revenge. It ain't about showing off. It's about realizing who you are and never settling again. It's about building a life so full, so rich with purpose and joy and freedom, that he could knock on your door tomorrow and you wouldn't even answer. Not out of hate, but out of peace. Because where you're standing now, he ain't even on the map anymore. And don't get it twisted. It's not that you don't remember what happened. You remember, you just don't carry it. You laid it down, turned it into wisdom and kept moving. That's what real growth looks like. You confuse him when you stop reacting, when you stop proving, when you stop trying to make him see what he should have seen from the start. You confuse him when he checks in on you, maybe through a mutual friend, maybe through a little social media stalking, and realizes you didn't just move on, you leveled up so far that he ain't even sure you'd recognize him now. Because that's what happens when you truly rise. You outgrow the version of yourself that tolerated less than she deserved. And once you outgrow her, you outgrow him too. Now you're investing in yourself. You're chasing purpose, not people. You're dreaming bigger, talking deeper and walking lighter. You stopped waiting for someone to choose you and started choosing you. And the woman who chooses herself, that's a woman no man forgets. Especially the one who thought she'd never leave. The irony is the same man who once treated you like an option now sees you as the one that got away. But you ain't the one that got away. You're the one who leveled up and left. And now, he ain't got the password to access your life anymore. The elevation revoked his entry. And what's wild is, you ain't even doing it for him to notice. You're not hoping he sees you. You're not trying to prove a point. You're just living. You're just thriving. You're just walking in your calling. And that's what makes it even more powerful. Because now you're so far removed from that version of you that tolerated nonsense, that even if he wanted to come back, he wouldn't even know where to find you. That's the kind of level up I'm talking about. So when he looks back, and trust me, he will look back, let him look up so high he has to squint, just to spot the version of you that moved so far ahead he can't even speak your language anymore. Let him realize the same woman he thought would wait forever now sits in rooms he ain't invited to. Let him feel the weight of what he lost. Not because you said a word, but because your life got louder than your lips ever had to. Because the real confusion comes when you rise so high he can't reach you no more. Let me tell you something that'll flip the whole game upside down. You don't need closure from the person who broke you. That's right. You don't need a final conversation. You don't need apology. You don't need him to sit down and finally explain why he did what he did. That's the trick. That's the trap. Waiting around for a moment that probably ain't ever gonna come. And even if it did, it still wouldn't be enough. See, the truth is, closure ain't something he gives you. It's something you give yourself. Now I know, when someone hurts you like that, when they pull the rug out from under your love, your loyalty, your trust, your whole world, it feels like you can't move forward till you understand why. Why he cheated, why he lied, why he acted like he loved you one minute, then treated you like a stranger the next. Why he turned cold when all you ever did was stay warm. That why can haunt you. I get it, but let me drop this on you. The person who caused the wound cannot be trusted to heal it. You out here looking for answers from somebody who didn't even value your questions. You waiting for a man who couldn't respect your heart to suddenly become responsible for your healing. That's backwards. And that's why so many folks stay stuck waiting for a sentence that'll never come from a person who never had the emotional depth to deliver it. See, he thinks you'll stay in that waiting room, that emotional purgatory. He thinks he still has control because the story feels unfinished to you. He knows if he leaves you hanging, confused, unsettled, maybe he still lives rent-free in your mind. Maybe you'll keep checking your phone. Maybe you'll keep replaying the last conversation. Maybe you'll stay on pause. That's what he counts on. But when you make the decision to stop chasing answers and start creating peace, that's what confuses him. Because closure don't come from him saying, I'm sorry. It comes when you say, I deserve more than this. And I'm not going to spend another day trying to understand something that never made sense to begin with. It comes when you realize that sometimes the disrespect was the answer. Sometimes the silence was the message. Sometimes how they left you told you everything about them and nothing about your worth. And that's a hard pill to swallow. I get it, because you gave your heart honestly. You showed up with good intentions. You loved with everything you had. You communicated, you compromised, you tried. So when someone just walks away or switches up with no real explanation, it feels like they took a piece of you with them. But here's the part that hits deep. They can only keep what you let them take. You got the power to reclaim every piece. You don't need his permission to move on. You don't need his clarity to find yours. You don't need a conversation to close the chapter. Sometimes you gotta slam that book shut your damn self and write a new story where he don't get to be in the next few pages. Because the moment you stop waiting for closure, you start moving in freedom. You start rebuilding without the need for validation. You stop asking, why did he hurt me? And start asking, why did I stay so long trying to make broken love work? That shift right there, that's maturity. That's healing. That's how you take your power back. And you confuse him when you stop looking for him to make it right. You confuse him when you stop reaching out. Stop trying to understand. Stop giving energy to someone who misused yours. Because now he's realizing you don't need him to feel whole anymore. You don't need his version of the story. You've written your own, and in yours, you're not the victim. You're the survivor. You're not broken. You're building. Let me tell you something. There is no closure better than peace. And peace don't require a text message. It don't require a sit-down conversation. Peace happens when you forgive yourself for loving someone who couldn't love you back right. And then you choose to love yourself better than you ever did before. You start walking different. You stop looking over your shoulder. You stop wondering if he regrets it, because you know now his regret is his to carry. You let him keep the guilt, the shame, the confusion. That's his weight, not yours. And guess what? When you no longer need closure, you stop chasing. And when you stop chasing, that's when you truly elevate, because you're no longer stuck in the past, no longer trying to rewrite what's already been written. You're focused on now. You're focused on now. You're too busy building your future to revisit a story that was never worthy of your whole heart. He'll look back. They always do. He'll wonder why you stopped calling, why you stopped posting anything that sounds like pain, why you started glowing different, talking different, living different. He'll wonder how you healed without him. And that's what confuses him most, that you didn't need his help to rise, that you didn't need one more conversation, one more answer, one more excuse. You just needed you. Because the most powerful thing a woman can do after heartbreak is stop waiting for the man who hurt her to fix what he broke and decide that her healing ain't up for negotiation, that her peace don't need no permission, that her closure. It came the day she said, "I'm done trying to understand someone who was never built to love me properly in the first place." And when he realizes you walked away and never looked back, not because you were cold, but because you found peace deeper than his apology could ever reach. Now he's the one who's stuck with the questions, because you stopped needing answers. You became one. Let me tell you something about real strength. It's quiet. It's not loud, not dramatic, not broadcast all over social media for likes and attention. Real strength is silent. Real strength is when you walk away without announcing it, without throwing a fit, without needing to be seen. It feels most when you disappear gracefully. When you don't explain, don't argue, don't beg to be heard. You just leave, and in your absence you speak louder than you ever did with your words. See, most men are used to women falling apart. They're used to drama, to tears, to pleading, to long texts full of emotion and heartbreak. They're used to women trying to hold on to something that's already gone, trying to fix what he was too careless to protect. So when you don't give him that, when you don't fall into that pattern, he don't know what to do with that. You confuse him, because the power wasn't in the yelling, it was in the silence. That kind of exit, it hits different. That kind of exit makes a man sit with himself, and that's something most men avoid their whole lives. See, when you stay and argue, when you stay and try to fix it, he can shift the blame, he can manipulate, he can dodge accountability. But when you leave without a sound, now all he's got left is a mirror, and in that mirror he has to face the real reason you left. No distractions, no noise, just the echo of the peace you took with you. You confuse him when you don't play the role he expected. He thought you'd scream. He thought you'd post about it. He thought you'd be out here trying to make him jealous. But you didn't do none of it. You just packed up your heart, held your head high, and walked out with grace. That grace, that's power. That quiet exit, that's class. That's dignity. And that's what burns. Because silence says what words never could. Your silence says you are no longer worthy of my voice. Your silence says you've lost access to my emotions. Your silence says you are not entitled to my closure, my presence, or my pain. And that silence, it's loud. He'll hear it every time he tries to move on and realizes no one compares to the peace you carry. He'll hear it when he lays down at night and wonders why the storm finally came when you left, not when you were still trying to fix what he kept breaking. You walking away with grace is a declaration that you now understand your value. You finally see what you were offering. Your heart, your loyalty, your vulnerability, your time, your soul. That wasn't something to play with. That wasn't something to mishandle. You were the safe space, the peace, the real thing. And he took that for granted. He mistook consistency for weakness. He mistook kindness for naivety. But what he never saw coming was the moment you'd stop explaining yourself and just go. And you didn't go to be chased. You didn't leave hoping he'd come running. You left because you finally realized that saving your spirit was more important than saving the relationship. You realized that your silence is a boundary, that you no longer need to convince someone to treat you right, that you're done trying to teach a grown man how to lie. And that lesson right there, that's what's confusing. Because now every time he thinks of you, he won't remember the fight. He won't remember the tears. He'll remember the way you went quiet, the way you stopped responding, the way you pulled your energy all the way back, and in doing so pulled the light right out of his life. He'll start second-guessing everything. Was she really that peaceful? Was she really that good to me? And the answer is yes. Yes, you were. He just didn't recognize it in time. And now you've become the one that can't be reached. You've become the one he can't read, because your silence created a mystery. Your silence built a wall that ain't made of bricks. It's made of healing. And no matter how loud he gets now, it won't break through. You're not ignoring him to be petty. You're not being silent to play games. You're silent because you've healed. You're silent because you've grown. You're silent because you finally chose yourself. And that's the difference. That silence ain't about him, it's about you. It's about protecting your peace. It's about preserving your dignity. It's about walking into your future without dragging your past behind you. And now he's out here trying to figure out where it all went wrong, trying to remember the last thing you said, trying to understand why you stopped answering, stopped reacting, stopped caring. And the hardest part for him to accept is that the moment you stopped talking was the moment you started loving yourself more than you loved him. That's what real love looks like sometimes. Not staying and fixing, not holding on, but walking away in quiet strength, knowing that the loudest message you'll ever send is leaving with your soul intact. You confuse him not with anger, not with revenge, not with bitterness, but with your peace. In peace, that's the kind of power no man can touch once you claim it for yourself. You really want to confuse a man who hurt you. Glow up on him. And I ain't just talking about how you look though, that's part of it. I'm talking about your whole life, your mindset, your peace, your energy, your purpose. I'm talking about when you take that pain and use it as fuel to become the best version of yourself. That right there, that's the move he never saw coming. See, when a man breaks you, when he walks away or treats you like you're disposable, a part of him assumes you'll stay stuck. He expects you to be damaged, to be bitter, to be broken. He thinks you're gonna spiral, maybe even wait on him. He thinks you're gonna sit in that same spot emotionally, replaying what went wrong, holding your breath, hoping he'll come back around, because that's what he's seen before, that's what he's used to. But when you don't do any of that, when instead you start evolving, healing, and building, he can't compute that. It throws him all the way off. You start showing up for yourself differently. You start dressing how you want to dress, not to impress him or anybody else, but because you finally see yourself again. You start taking care of your body, not for attention, but because your health matters and you're reclaiming your strength. You start protecting your peace, cutting off the noise, removing the chaos, setting boundaries. You stop entertaining anything that doesn't serve the new woman you're becoming. And that glow, it don't come from makeup or money. It comes from growth. And baby, that kind of glow makes people look twice. He sees it too. He watches from a distance. Maybe he won't say it, maybe his pride won't let him, but he sees you. He sees the confidence in your step now. He hears the difference in your voice, how you don't hesitate, how you don't shrink yourself anymore. He notices the silence too, because you used to chase, you used to explain, you used to plead, but now you don't even flinch. That's confusing to him, because in his mind you weren't supposed to survive without him. You weren't supposed to find yourself after losing him, but instead of staying broken, you started building. Instead of staying in the ashes, you rose, and not only did you rise, you leveled all the way up. You poured into your goals. Maybe you went back to school. Maybe you started that business. Maybe you hit the gym, got your finances right, surrounded yourself with people who actually pour into you instead of drain you. You reconnected with your purpose. You found God again. You found yourself again. You tapped into a strength you didn't even know you had, because it was buried under the version of you who tolerated less than she deserved. And now that she's gone, the real you is showing up. That evolution, it's not just about revenge. It's not about making him jealous. It's not about showing off. It's about finally realizing that you were never the problem. It's about remembering who you were before the heartbreak and falling in love with that woman again. You're not becoming someone new. You're just unlearning all the parts of yourself that were wrapped up in someone who didn't see your worth. You're getting back to the core of who you are. And that version of you, she's unstoppable. Because now you're not operating out of pain. You're operating out of power. You're no longer looking for someone to fix you. You realize you were never broken. You were just giving your best to someone who didn't know what to do with it. And now your best belongs to you. And when he sees that you've built a life that he can't be part of, not because you're being petty, but because he no longer meets the standards you've set for yourself, now he's stuck. Because once upon a time he had access to you, to your love, to your loyalty, to your softness, to your time. Now he's got nothing but memories, and a front row seat to your glow up. That glow up ain't about makeup, nails, or a new man. It's about the peace in your soul. It's about how you no longer explain yourself to people who don't listen. It's about how you laugh more now, how you sleep better, how you walk into rooms like you belong there. That's real transformation. That's healing. That's what confuses him most. Because what he didn't realize is this: when he hurt you, he planted a seed, not of bitterness, not of revenge, but of rebirth. You took the pain and watered it with discipline. You pulled out the weeds of self-doubt. You let the sunshine of truth and self-love shine on it every day. And eventually something beautiful started growing, something fierce, something whole you. And now you ain't looking back, because once you level up, once you start living in your truth, you realize that going back would cost you too much. It would cost you your peace, your growth, your freedom. You can't afford that. Not for him, not for anyone. So you keep rising, quietly, boldly, unapologetically, because the best response to being hurt is healing in public but rebuilding in private. The best clapback is your confidence. The best revenge is your peace. The best I told you so is when he realizes too late that you became everything he couldn't appreciate while he had you. You confuse him by not falling apart. You confuse him by becoming the woman he always knew you were, but never thought you'd find without him. You became her anyway.